very warm welcome to the GG.com horse racing podcast, recording from Wolverhampton. We're recording this on Thursday, the 12th of September. I'm Sam Turner. With me is GG.com resident tipster Kevin O'Malley. And in this show, we'll be taking a glance over the big upcoming races, the huge ante-post markets that are on offer at the moment, including the Ayr Gold Cup and the Cambridgeshire handicaps. We'll be discussing some top Group 1 action from home and abroad, and we'll also be chatting about the latest happenings in the world of GG.com and the horse racing community. We'll perhaps start by rounding up this podcast with a few of the main headlines on the GG.com news section that are featured in the last week. Kevin, and good afternoon to you. And
good afternoon, Sam.
Just to pick up on one or two of the footnotes really from the weekend's action, probably in Ireland, where we've seen a wonder horse again, according to Aidan O'Brien.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that really tickles me a little bit, is O'Brien is giving it the old the best we've ever had again. I mean, he's had.
Have we heard this before?
Just a few times, yeah. I don't know how Camelot's feeling right now. He must be feeling a little bit left out and down in the dumps about it all. But
he's referring to Australia, isn't he?
He's referring to Australia, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Trial, I believe. He turned over a 2-5 favourite. He'd done it really, really well.
Yep.
And he's ridiculously well bred. He's by Galileo out of that good mare Ouija board.
Oof, just a bit.
So, yeah,
Aidan was enthusing about this horse afterwards,
he said
wasn't
that
he?
he's totally extraordinary, and he's the best that's ever came through the doors. And
yeah, I mean, since the last best one that's ever come through the doors,
which was Camelot, and, and he got egg in his face after that.
Yeah,
I don't really buy into that with Aidan O'Brien, to be honest. We have to respect the way that Aidan O'Brien trains his horses. He's an absolute genius, but he isn't exactly what you call a punter's friend, so to speak, and so many times he comes up with these top-class horses and he says that they're the best he's ever had.
But it's a commercial operation, isn't it, Coolmore? They're trying to protect the stud value for further down the line, the breeding rights, etc. So, although we do see through it, those of us who work in the media and in and around horse racing, that's the reason that they do it, isn't it? They hype these horses.
Of course. Yeah, it winds me up a little bit, but I found it quite funny at the same time.
Absolutely. And news on Rosina as well? Yes,
Rosina. She won the Moyglare Stud Stakes in really good fashion for Clive Britton, who had done a little shimmy out in the paddock after the race.
Doesn't he always? He should be on Strictly, shouldn't he, Clive?
He should give it a bash. Why not? But it is fantastic to see him with another flagship horse. And this Rosina now, I think she's as low as 8-1 for next year's 1,000 guineas. And she's reported to be in fine nick after that run, and she's got 2 targets up and coming now, which would be the Cheveley Park and the Phillies Mile.
Yeah, and isn't it a brilliant time of the year this autumn, because you've got the crossover between the top class flat and going into the jumps with Cheltenham's meeting coming up shortly, but you've also got all these brilliant trials, some brilliant top handicaps as well, Champions Day. It's a mouth-watering time of year, isn't it?
It really is. Sometimes for the punter it's quite a challenging time as you transition between big international races. There's big handicaps at the end of the season, and all of the big main festivals are out of the way, your Ascots, your Goodwoods, but there's still plenty of life left in this flat season.
For sure. Absolutely. And just touching on that, we've got one or two of the major handicaps still to come as well, haven't we? Like the Ayr Gold Cup, where there's just the 247 declared at the moment.
Yeah.
We've also got a Silver Cup, a Bronze Cup, a Packet of Crisps Cup. We've got everything, haven't we, up for grabs at Ayr?
Yeah.
They try and cater for every sprinter down to the 0-45s, I think.
Yeah. Well, they do. They're doing a good job really there over the last couple of years with the Silver Cup as well. Looking ahead to the Gold Cup, it's an extremely difficult race to have any kind of bearing on at all.
It's hard enough on the day, isn't it?
Yeah. The one horse I do like from there is a horse called York Glory. He's been plying his trade really well this season. Every season I seem to latch onto this horse who likes to be held up and needs absolutely everything to go right for him. And I kind of fall in love with a horse like that. And this year it's been York Glory. But he's rated 109 now, so he's going to need to be top class to win it. But he
is virgin on it, isn't he?
He is, and if he gets the splits, he'll obviously get the strong pace. If he gets the splits and things go right for him, he could run a massive.
And what about that ride at Beverley, Kevin? Jamie Spencer on board in that day, sat probably 8 or 10 lengths off not a frantic pace and got beaten ahead.
Yeah.
Infuriating, wasn't it?
It happens. You can blame the jockeys when things like that happen, but he is a hold-up performer, and I suppose it's not entirely his fault that it went no clip.
No, No, absolutely. The one thing I noticed about the Ayr Gold Cup, and something I just noticed through August, obviously doing the tips for the Mail, etc. Dandy Nichols, a man that thrives through the summer period as his sprinters on the go. 2 from 72 in August. Now he's got 3 or 4. Well, actually he's got probably half the stable entered in the Ayr Gold Cup with a view of coming down into the silver and the bronze. Sorry, but he's got 2 or 3 live chances all around 33, 40 to 1, and 2 that caught my eye a little bit were Summer in the City, who's a horse that goes very well on soft ground and was only just touched off by Tropics at York in a very fiercely run handicap. That was a good run. He got bumped a couple of times as well. And a horse that he had from Brian Meehan, Dandy Nichols, called Mehdi, who's also run well. Mehdi, he's also run well. And I just thought it might be worth keeping an eye on those 2 horses. With Dandy's horses starting to show signs of life. He's had a couple of winners already in September, a few near misses. I just wondered, because they've missed out most of August, they could have some 1 or 2 well-handicapped horses for the spring, for the autumn.
The stable could easily come good at this time of year, couldn't it? York Glory, aforementioned, is top price 20 to 1 with Coral. He'll obviously get into the race. I'd be interested in him.
And what about the Cambridgeshire? Obviously 9 furlongs, in a week or two's time.
Arguably my favourite handicap of the year.
Yeah.
The horse that I'm very, very keen on, I have been since he won at Sandown 2 runs back, is Hugo Palmer's horse, Short Squeeze. He had little bits and pieces of form as a 2-year-old, and he's reported to have done a piece of work as a 2-year-old. Hugo was kicking himself that he didn't enter him for the Racing Post Trophy and for the Dewhurst. But at least then he knew that he had a bit of a horse to go to war with this year. And he's been improving steadily, and he was very impressive at Sandown, and he won at York last time out, £6 higher, and he's gone up another £12 for that. He looks potentially a group horse in the making, and off a mark of 94 in the Cambridgeshire.
If he can get in.
3-year-olds, it's difficult to get into them handicaps. If he can get in, I'd give him a massive shout. The other one I was looking at is George Baker's Jack's Revenge. Yeah. If he stays, he
good form in hustle bustle handicaps, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think a mile and 1 is just about stretching him a little bit. But he came 8th in the race last year. He was only beaten 4.5 lengths in it last year. He's a couple of pounds higher, but I think he's a better proposition this year, about 25 to 1. And if he does go for it, he'd have a big chance.
And George's horse has been in brilliant form, haven't they, this autumn? He won the Legends race, didn't he? He's had a number of 2-year-old winners as well. He's had winners all over the country and all over, the Europe, basically. He doesn't mind travelling them, does he?
No.
Couple I thought, with the Hugo Palmer angle, as well as Scription, who was a horse that won very well on soft ground at Goodwood, clocked a very fast time, and then just got worried out of it by Dr. Livingston in a fiercely run race at Haydock. I think he's likely to get in. He should get the soft ground he wants, and the 9 furlongs won't be a barrier to him. A horse I saw first hand at Chester land a bit of a touch for the Varian team when their horses were quiet, is Yaroom. He's a 3-year-old, but he should get into the race.
Stable are flying.
They are. Ever since they issued that bulletin that they were all sick, they've not stopped having winners, have they? Incredible. And last year's winner, 20 to 1, Bronze Angel, hasn't been out all season, but was left off from June to September last year, came back fresh, won at 33 to 1. He's only £5 or £6 higher in the weights. Now, I know Marcus Trigoning's had a pretty awful summer of it, not many turf winners at all, but just signs are that the yard's starting to have a winner or two now. 20 to 1 for him.
Yes.
Last year's winner, good course and distance form.
Interesting.
So those are a little roundup of the 2 big handicaps and just discussions on our early informative thoughts there. We've also got the Arc de Triomphe coming up as well, which looks an absolute vintage renewal this year, doesn't it?
It is shaping up nicely. We've got, as we record, we've got the trials coming up this weekend, and we can discuss the results of them and the effect they've had on the market in the next podcast. But as things stand, the market is shaping up really, really well.
We can talk about Novelist perhaps, because he's sort of second in the market, and he's had his sort of prep run, hasn't he, winning the big race in Germany, the Grosser Preis von Baden. He was 1 to 6 to win it. He huffed and puffed a bit, didn't he?
He did. I mean, I suppose you can argue that the best way to judge his arc chance is based on Ascot, and I think there's a couple of ways of coming at that piece of form. I mean, he beat Trade and Leather, who's been beaten comprehensively since, but he was extremely impressive that day.
Slammed him by 5 lengths, didn't he? In a world record time, didn't he?
In a world record time, it was an extremely good speed figure, as you'd expect from a time like that. So it's very, very difficult to knock him, Novelist. He's 11 to 2, top price with Sporting Bet.
Love the ground, won't he, if it comes up soft?
Which
right-handed track.
It invariably does.
Yeah.
I mean, the other horse that I'm looking at is Al Kazim. I mean, from early on in the season, Charlton has said that the Arc is his big target for the year. The fact that he's been beaten a couple of times wouldn't necessarily bother me too much, especially since it's been over 1.2 miles, and he's still acquitted himself very well.
Yes. Top class races, weren't they? You know.
He was 6-1 for the Arc a few weeks ago. He's more than doubled that now at 14-1 top price, and he's a horse that has the attributes that you'd associate with a horse that would go well at Longchamp. You know, he's physically
travels well.
He's physically imposing. He does pick up. You know, he stays. You know, he go on the ground. So around 14-1, you know, Al-Kazim might just go well, and
because we're not going to see him again now, are we? So you could probably be back in with a little bit of confidence, couldn't you? You know.
Yeah, you could.
He's had all his prep runs, etc. Obviously, heading the market is Flintshire, who was unraced at 2, but has sort of almost replicated what Rail-Link, who won for the Yard in the mid-2000s. Yeah, what he managed to do. He's won exactly the same races, but his only defeat has come on testing ground, which is a little bit of a question mark. Treve has won the Prix de Diane by 4 lengths. She beat Chiquita that day, and she came out and enhanced the form in the Irish Oaks. And you've got last year's second Orfèvre, who was second to Solomia, 12 months ago, won his prep race as well. So it is boiling up into a fascinating contest this year.
I think he potentially holds the key to the race, Orfèvre, the Japanese horse. See now he can come back onto the track. I think he's due to run in the Prix this weekend. He's actually due to have a piece of track work today, I believe.
Is he?
Yeah,
right.
And he's about 6-1, and if he can repeat anything like last year, he'll obviously be banged there in the mix as well. A lot will happen this weekend. We'll see how they all go. But for me, Al-Kazim about 14-1. If I was to take an ante-post view, I'd have a few quid each way on him.
Well, we all know what that noise means, Kevin, and that is the time for this week's GG Alert horse. So what's the horse that you've seen in the last couple of weeks, which is a big horse for listeners to get the stuck into next time out?
Well, I actually have a horse to follow and a jockey.
Okay.
The horse is trained by Eve Johnson-Houghton, called Panther Patrol.
Yeah.
He won a couple of races early on in the season back in January, February, and he kind of lost his way in a couple of subsequent runs. And he had a break then from May. I believe the owner and the trainer agreed that he would freshen him up, protect his mark, and come back for a back-end campaign. And he has been second, and third so far, and he ran over 7 furlongs last time out. I think that just about stretches stamina. I'm pretty sure she'll drop him back to 6 next time out. She's had Ryan Moore on board twice and Frankie on board last time out. I think they are trying to get a win into him, and his speed figure suggests that he is well handicapped, and I think he's a certainty to win a handicap quite soon off a mark of 75.
Okay, well, if you'll allow me the indulgence of throwing one in myself, I'll throw in Indigo Blues, who's trained by Dandy Nichols, who we touched on early on in the podcast. He won at Thirst by 3 lengths. He got shoved up by £7 for that, but he's only had 8 races this year. He's quite a lightly raced 4-year-old for Dandy. He also won at Carlisle early on in the year. He goes on soft ground, goes on fast ground. I think he'll be targeted at the silver or the bronze cups at the Ayr Western meeting. I just think with the yard showing signs of revitalisation and resurgence, he could definitely be one that you should keep on your shortlist for a big handicap at the back end.
Interesting. Just a jockey, because with GG alerts you can obviously alert yourself to jockeys and trainers and everything else, and you can follow those. A young apprentice out of Kevin Ryan's yard, Kevin Stott. He's been going really well. I mean, I've heard a couple of people slating him, saying he's a little bit of a flapper and things like that. But I tell you what, this jockey, he's tactically aware. He's very strong in the saddle, and he's banging in the winners. He's had 145 rides to date. He's had 15 winners, and he's had 30 placed. And a champion apprentice already came out of that yard last year, Emmy Ryan. And I think next year Kevin Stoke could be. He's one to follow now, but I think he'd be very much one to follow next year. It's
all about confidence with these lads. I remember seeing Davy Probert and William Buick when they first rode. Thomas Brown has taken a long time to sort of find his feet and really find some consistent, but absolutely really polished. There's a number of lads at that yard as well, out of Andrew Baldwin's yard, that you could put in your GG track. O'Sheen Murphy, for one, Thomas Brown, as we touched on.
Murphy is mustard, he is.
He is quality, isn't he?
Yeah.
Absolutely quality.
So it's worth bearing in mind that we relaunched GG Alert a few months ago. So now you can use it on your mobile phone, and it's very, very easy. When you're out and about, if you spot a horse that you like, you spot a jockey that you like, you're sitting in the bookies, you can just go to GG.com on your mobile, search for for the jockey or for the horse, and you'll be able to put that into your alerts and your tracker really easily. And then when you get home, you can go into your little GG spot area, GG alerts, when you're logged in, and you can add notes as to why you like that horse and that jockey, which is a pretty good feature now that we have on the new GG alert system.
Yeah, it's brilliant as well, Kevin, isn't it? Because you just then become part of the GG community. I mean, we run a lot of competitions, don't we, for these big meetings where you can win big bets.
Yes, we like to keep on top of the bookmakers to give us nice prizes for the big festivals.
Yeah.
We're running one now for the St. Ledger. We're running one for all of the big meetings. So it's definitely, we've got the tips on software. It's you go in and you put your tips on in TipZone, and it's fantastic.
It's easy to do, even for a dinosaur like me.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm not actually allowed to enter, which is a bit of a bummer.
Well, it's not for all our people who use our site though. It gives them a chance, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Which is what it's all about. Absolutely.
It.
And talking about sort of betting tips and things like that, is there anything that springs to mind that we can help? Our regulars. Obviously they're pretty spot on and very well versed in the ways of gambling and punting and winning money. But just a little couple of things that you've seen along the line.
There are quite a few shrewdies that go to GG.com. I must admit, but we do get asked quite often. What are the things that make what improves your punting? Yeah. And I think there's 1,000,001 things you can do to try and improve your punting, but there's a few little things, a handful of things that you must do if you're serious about making a profit from horse racing.
Sure.
And I think maybe the first thing to do is record your bets and be honest with yourself.
Yep.
Keep an eye on what you're doing, and only that way can you hope to kind of improve and learn from your mistakes. And the other thing is specialise. There's so many different types of racing. Mm-hmm. There's class 1 to 7. You've got sellers. You've got every kind of a race you could possibly think of. You need to whittle that down and kind of concentrate and find out what you're good at, find out what you like.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. And I'd echo those with probably a couple of little bullet points myself, really. I think you've got to have separate accounts. I think mixing your money with your household account as your punting accounts is just a route to disaster. If you can just separate the money out and differentiate between the two, then you have much better chance of managing your money correctly, which is the massive thing in gambling, really.
I agree now. There is a consensus that bookmakers are in line with the exchanges now, and there's not much price discrepancy, but there is, and there's enough that you can gain value by having multiple accounts open. Yeah, and I think just little things like betting to best odds guarantee. Yeah, massive. It's all very, very important stuff.
It is. It's huge because your horse drifts from 4 to 1, 6 to 1, and wins. It's like backing another 2 to 1 winner on top of your original, isn't it? So, I would also say don't have bets at 8 o'clock that you wouldn't have struck at 2 o'clock. Bookmakers thrive on a bit of chaos and a bit of scrambled thinking with the punters. Poor decision making, then is a route to profit for them and a route to failure for you. So always have a plan. Bookmakers are incredibly well organised and meticulously prepared. Make sure you are as well. There's no excuse for not preparing.
I mean, no matter who you are, you're guilty of reckless betting. No matter who you are, I don't care who you are. And if you're quite serious about your betting and if you do want to have a few reckless bets, have an account especially for that. Yes. Stick 20 quid, stick 20, 30, 50 quid into an account. Yeah. And when you have a hunch bet, just a horse that you fancy or you just want to have a bit of crack, have an account for that.
It's a good avenue for that, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's absolutely what I like to, that's another thing that I like to do. Have a little, a mug bet account, I like to call it.
Well, I think that's good because, as I've just written here, losing is natural. I look at my tips, I'm probably working under 28% strike rate with my tips. It's all logged down in the Racing Post.
Average,
so roughly you're going to lose three days out of 4, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah.
But what you've got to make sure is that the losing days don't wipe out your bank. You've got to ensure that whatever you've got in that bank and you stick to good money management. There's a lot of difference. I don't profess to be a fantastic punter, but I'm a workmanlike punter. My graph goes slowly upwards. It doesn't go massively upwards. It just goes slowly. I chisel. That's my type.
That's it.
But I speak to a lot of people who make good money out of the game, and the way that they do that, it's not necessarily picking winners. I think a lot of people can pick winners. It's what you do with those winners. It's crucial to have the right money on the right winners and just to be strict with yourself.
It's about mindset as well. That wily old fox, Nick Morden from the Weekender, what did he once say? He said, in order to make money from gambling, you have to first accept backing a higher percentage of losers than you were previously comfortable with.
Yes.
And that's very important, really,
Yeah.
because every time, your average punter walks into a bookmaker's or goes online, they're expecting every bet to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't expect that to happen.
No.
You have to expect to lose. And then when you do win, it just builds up slowly.
But it's a very fine line with maintaining your confidence, though, as a punter, that accepting defeat is also going to be part of what you have to do. And I would also say as well, touched on a point that you said with the best odds guaranteed, have multiple bets, each way multiple bets, your lucky 15s, your lucky 31s, because if you have a touch with those are the only way that you're ever going to have a life-changing sum come your way. You can have your 50 or your 100 on a 3-to-1 chance or whatever, or an even money chance if you so like, but they're only ever going to buy you a ticket or 2 or 3 tickets for the next 3 bets. If you have an each way multiple that comes up, whether it be 4, 5, 6, 7 horses, whatever, to small money, those bets, they take an awful long time to get that money off your bookmakers. They would hate those to come in.
Well, yeah, my father-in-law, I think he does a few 75p lucky 15s every day to the tune of about 3 or 4 quid, and once a year he'll bang one in. He'll win 300 or 400 quid, 500 quid maybe, and he's a bookie's nightmare.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
They
might win off you 28 days and the month, but there'd just be 1 or 2 days. And if you do them each way with the best odds guaranteed firms as well, if you get 4th placed, you get a nice return if you're picking reasonable prices. It's just the way to go for me. I just think for the more modest punter, and I've known guys who've won millions out of horse racing, and all they did all day was literally write 8 horses on a slip, and when those 8 got beat, they'd write another 8 down, and that's all they would do. And they'd cop 250, 300 grand sometimes off those bets.
Yeah. Well, listeners, Sam has been telling me for ages to try and do more multiples, because I'm just a stickler for single bets, and I need to start doing it more, because often when I have 3 or 4 winners in a day, and you'll just be kicking yourself that you didn't stick him in a lucky 15 or a Yankee or a 4-full or whatever the hell.
It's the only way you're going to win a big figure.
Yeah.
The only way.
Indeed.
And Kevin, you've got some exciting news about GG venturing to other shores.
Yes, indeed. On the 6th of next month in October, we're going to be launching GG.com.au in Australia. So
Fantastic.
GG.com is going down under, and it's going to be a very exciting venture. We've got a couple of people involved, including Ollie Bell from Racing UK.
Oh, brilliant.
And we're really, really excited about it. We're going to have everything that we have over here: race cards, forum, alerts, competitions, community, and we hope that we're well received down in Australia. We think we will be. We're very much excited about it.
Most definitely, yeah. It's a fantastic inception, and I'm sure it's going to be as useful to punters as the British is. With the support that you give to the Irish racing and also British racing.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, with the Spring Carnival coming up over there and the Melbourne
quality.
Cup, it's the right time to be going over there, and we just hope we fit in nicely. We hope that they accept those pommies over there, as they like to call it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will, especially if you've got Ollie on board and one or two.
Ollie's a great guy. It's been a pleasure to work with him so far, and we're looking forward to going over there and giving it a good bash.
Well, that's all we have time for. We hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast, where we've highlighted a number of the ante-post races this autumn. Don't forget to keep in touch with GG on Facebook and Twitter for news about competitions and all things GG, etc. And we're absolutely delighted that you've listened to us here on the first GG.com horse racing podcast. Don't forget, it's available to download on iTunes. Just search for horse racing to find us. And, of course, keep an eye on that Australia development as well. Exciting times down under. Thanks very much for your time. I've been Sam Turner, joined by Kevin O'Malley. Goodbye for now.